So today we're going to go ahead, we're going to be doing 4 different textures. The last one, the 5th one, is going to be Earl. But like I said, it's good to have like an HB pencil. You can see HB, yep, there we go. HB pencil or better. Or I should say darker, like a 2B or 4B would be fine too when doing textures. You are going to definitely need a blending stump. Now, I believe all of you have a blending stump? Okay, good. And we should be good to go. If you have a bigger area, sometimes a piece of toilet paper works really good too. We're going to go ahead, once again, do what we did before when we did our shading, and we're going to go ahead and trace out these 5 boxes. Now, I like doing these. They work out pretty good. You know, you can go ahead and kind of set these up in here, and for the most part, it keeps things relatively organized. Now, what's really kind of nice is when we start doing these textures, one thing that happens when we get to actually doing the projects, a few of these textures will come back, meaning you'll actually find use for them, and you'll be able to kind of say, oh yeah, hey, I remember when we did that, so I can go ahead and kind of finally apply what we did in our sketchbook to this particular project. So that works pretty good too. I'm just going to kind of squeeze this one in here on the bottom. All right, now when we have these on here, oopsies, the first texture that I want to do is going to be scales, okay? All right, we're going to do scales, not the type of scale that you step on to see how much weight you've gained, Mr. Carlson, but we're going to do scales like you'd have on a fish. So here's what's going to happen. I want to go in here, guys, and I'm going to create a series of interlocking U shapes, just like that, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate them so that the tips of the U's touch the bottom part of the other U's. And keep in mind, too, when you do this, you guys, keep your U's pretty good size. I've had kids go on there and make them itty-bitty. It's like, oh my gosh, that's going to take you forever to shade. So keep them pretty good size when you do this. You're going to go ahead and just kind of fill this up, kind of put in these in through here. And you want to stagger them, kind of like, you know, the shingles of a roof. They're kind of staggered. Boom. So you got that right there. Then what's going to happen is this. Think of it this way. These U's overlap these. So it's almost like you got the one U overlapping the other U. And what happens is you get kind of a cast shadow taking place underneath here. So what will happen is I'll go ahead, I'm going to take my pencil, okay? And what's kind of interesting too is I'm using kind of that shading technique we learned yesterday called scumble to kind of shade in these little kind of crevices underneath here, okay? Notice this. I'm going to just kind of shade those in. Just shade them in, okay? And I'm just very lightly kind of putting some of those value in through there, just kind of doing a little bit of the scumble technique up and through here as well. All right. And what happens is this: when you get to this point, the actual kind of blending part with the Tertullian will really make these shingles kind of stand out, or I should say scales. They do look like shingles. All right. Some people say they look like the parts of a pine cone too. So I'm just going to stop right there. I'm going to grab my Tertullian. We're just going to kind of test this out. So grabbing my blending stump, my Tertullian here, I'm just going to take this, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of blend these in, okay? Just kind of blend them in, and I'm just going to pull down that value, okay? Just kind of blend it in. Just kind of drag that down. So it's really dark underneath here, but then it gets lighter, okay? Just going to take this, kind of blend it down. Take this and blend it down, all right? Does get a little monotonous, a little redundant, all right? But that's how we do this. That's how we practice it. All right, and you can see, look at that. That is fun. That looks really nice, Mr. Carlson. Thank you. All right, so we've got this in through here. Looks nice. And you guys, you can always go back in here, too. It's not a bad idea. You can always go back in, kind of darken up some of the areas right in through here. That just gives it kind of that extra little value to really kind of push that third dimension. Okay. Now, I'm just going to stop right there because I want to keep moving here as well. I don't want to make this too long for you. We're going to move on to the next one. Now, the next one is going to be bumps. Bumpity bump bump, okay? So we got our bumps right here. Now when we do this, you guys, I usually go in here and I put in these little kind of bumps in through here. All right, just something like that. All right, and you want to choose a light source. So let's say, okay, I'm going to have my light over here. We're going to kind of change up our light here. This is going to be kind of one of those old school flashlights that's kind of shining down. And here we got the light source here. And on the opposite side of these little bumps here, what's going to happen is this. I want to go ahead and I want to shade in, okay, these examples here. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of add in this through here. Just kind of shade this in. All right, just kind of shade this in. Okay. Notice this on the opposite side. All right, I'm going to go ahead and kind of do this in through here as well. All right. All right, and then once again, the tortillon really helps you out. And if you notice too, even my shading technique, it was a little bit more of the scumble. But now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this tortillon and just kind of blend it in, okay? And just kind of pull it closer to the light source, all right? Almost going in kind of making a little C shapes, all right? Kind of going in little C shapes, kind of half circles, all right? Just kind of pull them forward a little bit, okay? Pull them forward. Okay. All right. So we got something like that. And what's really kind of fun to do is this. Is you can go in here, guys, and sometimes you can do this with just a dirty tortillon, is you can go ahead and just kind of add a cast shadow, because you got your light source over here. It's going to leave a little bit of a cast shadow on this other side. Very cool. All right. All right. So that is some balls. Okay. All right. So we got two done so far. I'm going to get to the next one here. I like to do a little wood grain. That's kind of a cool little texture pattern that comes up, especially a little bit later on in some projects. We're going to go ahead. Oops, I've got a good spell here. That'd be great. All right, we're going to put in my wood grain. Okay. And when you do this, you guys, what's going to happen is it's almost like you got a couple V shapes. You got one V shape coming down here like this. Okay. You got another one coming up here like this. Okay. And you want to go ahead, you want to just outline around them. Okay. Just going to go ahead, kind of outline around here, just kind of fill this area in through here. You know, maybe give it a little bit of a curve here as well. You know, make it look a little bit more kind of organic, a little more unnatural. Okay. All right, we're going to kind of follow along here. But sometimes I like to mix things up a little bit. I like to put a little knot in here. Okay. A little knot, a little knotty pine. Knotty pine. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of keep putting these in through here. All right, and just kind of fill it up to the side. Okay. Look at that. Look how cool that is. That is fantastic. Love it. All right, gonna fill it up, fill it up. All right, I'm gonna go ahead to the top here, and boom. Now, for shading this in, here's what I've done. You can take your tortilla, okay, and you could go ahead, and I like to shade kind of on, like, on the lines on this side, I like to shade kind of on the outer edge of them. And what I mean by that is, like right here, okay, I go ahead and just kind of take that graphite that's there. And it might be kind of hard to see up here on the screen. But I'm just going to go ahead and kind of shade in through here. Now, if I wanted to, I could probably go a little bit darker. But what it does, it gives it kind of a little bit kind of that three-dimensional quality that's just very so subtle. Just so subtle. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of fill it in. All right. Okay. And then, I'm going to go on this side right here. All right. And then when you get over here, guys, then you can kind of pull it to the outside. Just going to kind of fill this in. All right, just taking my time. You know, the big mistake a lot of people make when they do textures is they do, because it gets a little kind of boring, if you will, they kind of rush through it. All right, and they get a little sloppy. All right, even this too. I know this is kind of a practice sketchbook. Still takes some time to kind of get that in. Okay, so you got something like this, and you can kind of see it definitely up and through here. You can see kind of the three-dimensional values that do take place with that. All right, now the next one I do want you guys to do, okay, is going to be this. Okay. We're going to go in here. It's going to be kind of a combination of a few of these. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create kind of a fur type texture. Okay. Now this does get a little tricky to do, but what I tell people to do when you do kind of fur is this. When you create this, I usually go ahead and start kind of almost with some curved lines, kind of coming down through here. Okay. Just kind of get it set up. And then you're almost going to kind of put another kind of row of these lines up here. Okay? And they kind of go in a particular direction. We don't really have to worry about a light source when we do this. Okay? All right. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and add just another one up here too. Okay. Notice I'm kind of curving these to the right here, curving these to the left. Just slowly kind of building up this texture. Okay? Just kind of filling it in. Now, the other thing, too, to keep in mind is this. Not only have kind of these curved lines that are right next to each other, but you also want to kind of vary the darkness, okay? Some of these should be a little bit darker. Now, I've got this right now. Now what I want to do is this. Where they kind of overlap each other, like this particular line or this grouping of hair overlap this one, is I want to go ahead and kind of make it a little bit darker underneath here. All right? Especially in through the part through here, too. Sometimes with fur, and especially with hair too, Sometimes less is more. Some people even think, too, they look, Mr. Krause looks like the pine needles of a pine tree. You know, it looks like a Christmas tree. Put a little star on that. Yeah, you probably could, yeah. You know, if you think about, too, from a distance, you know, the pine tree, especially the longer needle ones, they start to look a little bit like that. Okay? I'm going to go outside the box a little bit, too. We're going to go ahead and kind of keep things kind of interesting there. Or the box, as the British would say. All right, I'm going to kind of glue this right here. Okay. All right, boom. Once again, you guys, too, you don't necessarily have to fill in everything. In fact, I wouldn't, but you do have to kind of go in here and make some areas a little bit darker than other ones, okay? And, you know, I like to kind of sometimes go in here, too, and very lightly just take an area of this, maybe kind of the right-hand side, ooh, a little bit over here, and just kind of shade that in a little bit, okay? Gives it a little bit of a texture like that, too, okay? So that's going to be your fur texture. Now, these 4 are on that handout sheet that is presented through your classroom. This last one is going to be your choice. You could take one from that sheet or you could come up with your own. Okay? It's entirely up to you. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, good luck. We're all counting on you. And when you're done, please make sure you get it turned in. Thank you.